Hi guys, it's me, Chazza HD, and welcome today on this Friday, of course for the second time this season, to the pre-sprint qualifying session for, or the pre-sprint qualifying session, I think it is. I think that's what you can pretty much call it for, of course, the 2021 Italian Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys are all doing well, no matter what part of the world you're from, no matter what time it is. Hopefully you're having as best a day as you can possibly be having, and hopefully with me today you will be watching along, or if you can't watch the session, listening, if I can speak English, along to my stream as I update you what goes on in this session and what the starting grid for the sprint qualifying race will be. By the looks of it, in the practice session from earlier, and don't worry, we will get into those results in a couple moments time. The field is very close, very close. I still think Mercedes and Red Bull are in that top echelon at the the front 3 or 4 of the grid, but there is a definite possibility of an AlphaTauri, a McLaren, I wouldn't say a Ferrari getting up there, but definitely an AlphaTauri or a McLaren, maybe an Aston Martin causing a surprise today, because those teams from practice look to be quite strong. Also, some of the drivers for those teams have been historically quite good here at Monza. So I think we are in for a very interesting session. I think this session will probably be more exciting than the one in Zandvoort. The one at Zandvoort wasn't boring, but I feel as though because the midfield was so far away from, the front 3 on the grid, the real, top dogs, when there's been plenty of sessions this season where we've had a midfield car, get up there, that it, wasn't as good as it could have been. But I think this qualifying session today, like I said, it could see a real surprise and see a McLaren qualify in 3rd place or something like that. It really could. Of course, we had that last year, a McLaren qualifying in 3rd place, and at last year's Italian Grand Prix we saw a very close field after, of course, Mercedes, if you look at the pure pace from last year. So I think we are in for a very good session. Very close session, especially, of course, in the midfield. And I think we are going to see a very mixed starting grid for the sprint qualifying race going, of course, ahead tomorrow around the same time it is now. Of course, I won't be covering that because of obvious reasons, because I hate the idea, but of course I'll be covering this, which I regard really as the real qualifying session. So before we get into previewing the teams and how I think they will probably do in this session based off of practice and also my own thoughts of how the teams should do around a track like this given what we've seen so far this season, let's get into those results from practice 1. Practice 1, by the way, finished about 2 hours ago. So now let's get into it. So Lewis Hamilton finished up in P1, 4.5 tenths clear of Max Verstappen on a harder compound of tyre. Very impressive lap time. I do think Max Verstappen can go quicker though, but still, that lap time from Lewis Hamilton was seriously impressive. It really was. But saying that, they are still, 2 seconds away from the peak lap times I think they'll be doing in qualifying coming up in 25 minutes. So they can definitely go a lot quicker than what they were going like in practice 1. Max Verstappen, like I said, in 2nd place. Valtteri Bottas 3rd. And then Stroll in 4th. Gasly 5th. Vettel 6th. Now with Stroll, Gasly, Vettel there, and a couple tenths away from the top 3, you may think that me saying certain teams could maybe cause a surprise, but when you watch the actual session, you'll understand what I mean, because McLaren did actually get both cars into the top 5 towards the end of the session, but had both times deleted due to a track limit violation at the final corner. Now, if that track limit violation had not happened, I'm pretty sure both cars still would have gone into the top 5. So McLaren are definitely right up there. There is no doubt about it. Of course, this doesn't show that, but they can definitely be right up there and cause a surprise. And this really should be a circuit where McLaren are very strong. And then after Sebastian Vettel in 6th, you have Carlos Sainz in P7. And then Alonso, Ricciardo, Perez completing the top 10. Perez didn't really go for that many quick laps after the start of the session. So I think Perez can go definitely quicker. And then Charles Leclerc can definitely go quicker. He had a time deleted as well. And then Norris 12th, Giovinazzi 13th, and then Tsunoda, Ocon, Kubica in 16th place. And then Russell 17th, Latifi 18th, Mazepin 19th, and Mick Schumacher 20th. By the way, when it comes to Kubica, of course, because Kimi Raikkonen tested positive less than a week ago, 6 days ago, he still needs to isolate. So that's why Kimi Raikkonen is also not racing here, as well as him not racing at Zandvoort. So Raikkonen will be back at the Russian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. And hopefully is all recovered. But now we'll get into the top teams and I'll start off, of course, with Mercedes, who I didn't think would be weak this weekend. I mean, I still think Max Verstappen and Red Bull have definitely got something up their sleeve pace-wise, and I think it will still be very close in Hamilton and Verstappen when it comes to pole position for the sprint race, even though the sprint race determines pole position. It's such a shit rule, I have to say, that is. I still think it'll be very close, whether Hamilton or Verstappen gets it. Valtteri Bottas, I think, will most likely be 3rd or 4th. Wouldn't be surprised if Valtteri Bottas ended up in P4, to be honest, because I think Sergio Perez does have the potential, without doubt, around a track like this that he's been historically good at, to be up there in the top 3. But yeah, I think Max Verstappen can definitely, and Red Bull most importantly, can definitely go a lot quicker. But I think Mercedes, even if Red Bull say, finally show their hand, I still think Mercedes will be fine. I still think they've got a good enough car to keep Max and Red Bull on their toes. Because, yes, Max Verstappen is in great form at the moment. Red Bull are back in form. The Honda Power Unit is, really performing well, like it has been all season. And around a circuit like this, of course, that should show itself. But Mercedes are not, they're not miles away. I think we need to remember that. At Zandvoort, if Lewis Hamilton's second pit stop and where he was released into the circuit in terms of having traffic or no traffic, if he didn't have traffic, Lewis Hamilton easily could have won last weekend. So that's my point, is that even though coming into this weekend I would have thought Verstappen and Red Bull are the favourites, and I'm still kind of leaning in that way towards Verstappen and Red Bull, because I think they'll definitely show a lot more in this session coming up. And I think they're a lot further away from their limit than, Mercedes are. But like I said, even if they are the quickest Red Bull, I still think Mercedes are right there to keep them on their toes. Because like I said, at Zandvoort, they could have easily won the race if they just got that second stop right in terms of where Hamilton was fed back out onto track. So don't have any illusions if Max Verstappen, gets pole by a couple tenths of a second, because this is going to be a fight that's going to go on for the entire weekend. Of course, today in qualifying, then in sprint qualifying, and then in the race as well, it's going to be a real hard, long battle. So between Verstappen and Hamilton, I would say after practice and what we've seen so far, I would still go with a Max Verstappen pole position, but I think it'll be closer from what I've seen so far. I did think coming into this weekend that it would be, say, 2 tenths of a second in Max Verstappen's favour. Not because Hamilton isn't good enough around this track or anything compared to Verstappen, but just because the Red Bull car I thought would be very well suited to Monza, and I still think it will be. So, because of what Hamilton has shown in practice, I think it will be at least within a tenth. Don't know how much, but within a tenth of a second. But I still think, I might as well move on to him now, and Red Bull. Still think that Red Bull and Max Verstappen are just about the favourites. We've seen this before, that in practice sessions on a Friday, Red Bull don't tend to be as strong as Mercedes. That's not because Red Bull take longer to figure things out. It's because Red Bull, I think, like to conserve more of what they have than Mercedes do. So I think Red Bull will, like I said, show a lot more in this session and are definitely further away from their limit than Mercedes are. Mercedes were, I think last year they did a 1:18.8 in qualifying. That was the best time they did. So they were, they're, after what we saw in practice, they're 2 seconds away from that that time. Red Bull, I think last year did a 1:19.3, 1:19.4, something like that. So they're 2 seconds away from that. But most importantly, Red Bull, of course, are clearly a lot better than they were last season, which is why I say Red Bull are further away, I believe, from their limit than Mercedes are. So do not, if you're a Max Verstappen or Red Bull fan, don't think from what we saw in practice 1 that Lewis Hamilton is going to walk away with this session. I mean, Lewis Hamilton could easily get pole. Hamilton's an amazing driver. Mercedes are an amazing team. But we haven't seen quite what Red Bull can do yet, and I know that for sure. So I think Verstappen, still the favourite, just about from Lewis Hamilton. Also, not just because of the way the circuit is and everything, but I think given the current form we are seeing, it's hard to see Max Verstappen being stopped in this session. I think in the sprint qualifying race we could see something interesting, but in this session I think Verstappen, because of the confidence and momentum he has restarted at the, restarting of the season, I think he will be just a little too strong in that Red Bull car to be stopped. And when it comes to Sergio Perez, do keep an eye out for him, because historically, like I've said, Perez quite strong at this circuit, and if I was going to expect a good result out of this triple header we've had from Sergio Perez, a properly good result, this is the race that I would have, predicted, because he's finished on the podium here, I think, before for Sauber, and he's had plenty of points finishes in the last few years. I can't remember a race that he's finished here where he's not finishing the points. Maybe 2013? Or 2011 was the only race he did not finish in the top 10 here at Monza in cars that were just about good enough to be around 9th, 10th at times. So I think Sergio Perez will surprise people and definitely put Valtteri Bottas under serious pressure. Now, Perez really has a good session and Red Bull looking very strong. You never know, could go after Lewis Hamilton for the front row. But yeah, Red Bull looking, I still think, good. But like I said, just haven't shown that hand yet. And of course, we will see in 15 minutes whether Red Bull do indeed have the pace for the pole position. I'm just going to call it pole position because that's basically what it is. And in my view, this is really the real qualifying session for the Italian Grand Prix. But now, let's get into the midfield, and a very interesting midfield. The running order, I would say, a bit different coming into this Grand Prix than Zandvoort. So we'll start off with McLaren, who, like I said, with those deleted times, what we saw on that results page for practice isn't really representative of where McLaren are so far this weekend. And I think McLaren, from what we saw at the end of the session when they set those deleted times, and, if they had not extended the track limits, I think McLaren definitely would have been up in the top 5 with both cars. Maybe Ricciardo would have been 6th at worst. McLaren are definitely the third strongest team. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. Their car is very well suited to a circuit like this. We knew this coming into this Grand Prix. If you just go back and look at the Austrian Grand Prix, which is probably, considering we didn't get really a race around Spa, we can't really look at that race at Spa and say, well, because of the high-speed nature, this is who did well and this is who didn't, because it was very, very wet, of course. The last circuit close to this one was the Red Bull Ring. And, of course, at the Red Bull Ring, McLaren were very, very good. Lando Norris finished 4th in the first race at the Red Bull Ring, and then in the second race, he finished on the podium in 3rd. And Ricciardo, even though he had poor qualifying results, came through, I think, in the second race and finished up in 7th place or something. So this is definitely a McLaren stronghold, I think. And as long as they execute the result they should, then McLaren should be way ahead of where Ferrari are on the grid. I think Ferrari, honestly, we'll get on to them in a moment, I think they're going to struggle. I think the two drivers, I don't doubt their ability. I don't doubt that, you know, around this circuit, they have, like I said, the ability to have a good result. We've seen it before, Charles Leclerc winning and getting pole in 2019 in the Ferrari, this Grand Prix. And Carlos Sainz very nearly winning the race last year and qualified 3rd. Like I said, they have the ability to get a good result as drivers, but the car, I just don't think simply is good enough. And I think Ferrari will struggle a lot compared to this team McLaren. So McLaren really, let's say the front 4 spots are dominated by Red Bull and Mercedes, then McLaren have got to be really on the 3rd row. Maybe with, you know, Gasly doing a bit of a surprise, which is what he normally does, maybe 5th and 7th. But McLaren really should be, at the very least, both cars in the top 8. At the very, very, very least. They have to, really, because what we saw in Zandvoort was simply not good enough. Only 1 point scored. Ferrari scored over 15 points. It was, 16 points, I think? Very nearly 18 points. So McLaren have got to bounce back. They're 11.5 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors in the battle for 3rd. So they need to get that result in qualifying today to properly bounce back against their nemesis, of course, Ferrari. And of course, this is Ferrari's home Grand Prix. But like last year, not quite as bad as last year, but like last year, the same problems are causing them not being as high up the grid as they would want to. Because McLaren are looking very quick and AlphaTauri are with Gasly, I think, to be honest, the top 7 positions on the grid are really out of bounds for the Ferrari team today. I think their real fight is going to be with Aston Martin and Alpine to a certain extent. I think with Alpine, they could probably beat them because I think Ferrari have probably got just about enough pace in the middle sector compared to Alpine to hold them off. But Aston Martin and Alpine are going to be their fight in this session. Also, Yuki Tsunoda as well, who should be, considering AlphaTauri have looked good so far this weekend, he should be in there somewhere. So, yeah, Ferrari, I think, at best, I think they'll get one car into Q3, which, to be honest, yeah, it's not great, but it's a lot better than last year, where last year they were, 13th and 17th on the grid or something like that. It would be, like I said, a step up from how just cataclysmically bad they were this time last year. And I think most likely Charles Leclerc will probably be the man who gets in the top 10. If he could get in the top 8 on the grid, say in 8th place, that would be a great result. It really would, because I just don't see how Ferrari really have, you know, strong enough pace to be expecting a result like that. I just don't see it. And like we've seen in the last year or so, and it's still a prominent issue to this day. They still lack the power. So, yeah, I'd say Leclerc probably will get into the top 10. Carlos Sainz, I think, will probably miss out in 11th or 12th or something like that. The only real way I think Ferrari can get both cars into the top 10 is probably benefiting from the tow, whether it's them doing it to each other or benefiting from someone else. That's the only real way I can see both Ferrari cars getting into the top 10. But I think given the drivers and how good the car is, aerodynamically speaking, I do think they have enough to get at least one car into the top 10. But if both cars were knocked down Q2, I wouldn't exactly be surprised, put it that way. Now we'll quickly get on to the rest of the field. Aston Martin looking very, very quick. Not a surprise around these type of circuits. This season they've been very good. Of course, remember Baku where they finished second in that Grand Prix. And if Stroll had finished the race, he probably would have finished quite decently in the points as well. So it's not a surprise that Aston Martin was so good in practice one. And I think out of them, Ferrari and Alpine, Aston Martin should be the quickest. And they don't really have that big of an excuse to not be quicker. Stronger power unit, a car that's more suited for a higher speed track, and two drivers as well that have pretty good records at this circuit. Pretty good. Vettel, plenty of podiums. He's won here twice. And Stroll, I believe, was at a points finish here at every race he's done in Formula One since 2017. So, yeah, I think Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel as a unit should be very, very good. And I don't think there's really much room for excuses. Maybe, yeah, if there's a case of blocking or something like that, maybe then an excuse can come about from that. But, when I look at it at the moment, given the pace they showed in practice, they've got to get a good result here. They really do. Because if you look at where they are in the constructors and how many points they're behind now, especially after that disqualification, after the Hungarian Grand Prix, Aston Martin have got to really outscore Alpine, for example, for every race for the rest of the season. And this Grand Prix has got to be the start of that. Absolutely has to. Because if Aston Martin were to drop from, finishing 4th last year as Racing Point to 7th this year as Aston Martin, of course, with a lot more money in that would be a positively awful season. For AlphaTauri, I think with Pierre Gasly, I think they'll be very strong. I think Gasly will definitely be in the top 7 on the grid. Wouldn't be surprised if he was on the 3rd row. So he should be fine. Yuki Tsunoda, though, really has got to be getting in the top 10, to be honest, because I think AlphaTauri, with the Honda power unit especially, do have overall a very good car for this weekend. And I think Tsunoda needs to really utilize that. Because if you look at the rest of the calendar, there's not too many tracks coming up for the rest of the calendar where AlphaTauri are going to be particularly strong. I mean, Russia, probably. But then you got Turkey and Kota, where I don't think they will be. Mexico either. And then maybe the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, they'll be strong. But other than that, it's probably going to be a weaker finish to the season pace-wise than how it started. So Tsunoda and Gasly need to take advantage of that and get a good result this weekend. And starting, of course, with the qualifying session in 5 minutes. For Alpine, they're about where I expected to be. At best, say 10th or 9th. But really, they're going to struggle to get cars into the top 10. Their power unit just lacks power. And their car is a lot more suited to a circuit like Zandvoort, which is very, tight and twisty. The corners are very long and hard and require very good amounts of downforce. And this circuit just isn't that. Most of the circuit is on throttle, and Alpine, of course, struggle with that. So even though they have two drivers who I think, you know, if they were in good machinery, could probably get a very good result, I just don't see how Alpine are really going to have that great of a result in this session. And then Alfa Romeo, I don't see anything for them really. And then for Williams, I think Russell will have a good session. I don't think he'll get into Q3, but I think he'll definitely get into Q2 and probably finish up in 12th or 13th place, given how good he is over a single lap. But yeah, I think Williams, I think they could get Latifi into Q2, but I just don't think he will, because I don't think there's anyone in particular in the midfield, say, other than Alfa Romeo and Haas, that look particularly weak and possibly under threat. So I think Williams, one car into Q2 and one car knocked out in Q1. But guys, we are now, 3.5 minutes away from the start of qualifying here at the Italian Grand Prix. Just want to say quickly in the live chat, guys, let me know your top 5 prediction for qualifying today. Let me know right now in the live chat, and I'll read out as many as I can before we get into some meaningful laps. So give me, of course, who you think is going to get pole position, finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Make sure to do that right now. Just want to say, though, don't forget, guys, to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I won't be going live at all tomorrow because, of course, it's sprint qualifying day and I don't want to do a stream for that. But there will be a video coming out tomorrow, and that will be a best bits video of this stream, and hopefully it is an exciting session. So that will be coming out tomorrow. I'll start recording this stream in just a moment. And then, of course, 3 streams on Sunday, the usual, of the race preview at 11 AM UK time. 1:30 PM UK time will be the race watch-along. And then the race review, I keep saying it'll be live, but I've recently announced that the new change, that it will not be live from now on, but it will be coming out earlier as a result, with it being recorded. So, yeah, Sunday, plenty of stuff coming your way, and also something coming your way tomorrow as well. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell as well. Smash a like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. But qualifying, underway in a couple minutes' time. It's not sunny at the Italian Grand Prix at the moment. We are expecting a lot of sunshine tomorrow and Sunday, but I think we are in for a very exciting and close session, and that's what it was like last year. Very exciting end to qualifying, and I think we are going to see definitely some surprises. And I'll just quickly, if I can, read some predictions. Won't be able to get into too many. Home Hunter Media says Bottas, Hamilton, Perez, Ricciardo, Gasly. Gina says Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Bottas, Gasly. If there's any more, then, you know, make sure to put them in the live chat. But I think I'll just quickly get ready the graphics for you guys. There you go. That's the running order on the left-hand side. And of course, Kubica's name over the top of Kimi Raikkonen's. And Q1, of course, 18 minutes long, and it will be getting underway in just a moment. In about 1 minute's time, to be exact. And just get the timer ready to activate. And hopefully, we get an exciting session. EJZ says, for his prediction for qualifying, Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Gasly, Leclerc, Tsunoda. Yeah, that looks a bit surprising, to be honest. I'd be very surprised if we had 2 AlphaTauris in the top 7, that would be, yeah, quite a surprise. As Lewis Hamilton needs half a point to become the first driver to reach 4,000 points. Of course, with the bigger point system, that is possible. As qualifying will be getting underway in 3, 2, 1. And there you go, guys. 18 minutes to go in Q1 here on this Friday. Qualifying here at the Italian Grand Prix. And hopefully we are in, rather, for a very exciting, close, and hopefully not traffic-filled qualifying session at Monza. Because, of course, the last couple Italian Grand Prix, we've had plenty of issues with traffic. And it is always an issue with people trying to get a tow. But hopefully not in this session. And hopefully we get some interesting surprises out there, which I think we could definitely get. As no cars at the moment have joined the track, so we await. I will just quickly get the dotted line up and put that down here. Just a moment. And yet, still, with a minute gone, no cars on the circuit, which, of course, is not very great, is it? But, of course, the teams are entitled to come out on track when they want to. And the reason they're doing this is because they want to time their run correctly in terms of getting the tow. They don't want to go out there on their own, do a time, and then someone else, a rival for example, goes out on track and, you know, gets a tow and then gets an extra half a second from it. Because, you know, that advantage of a tow cannot be, you know, you can't not utilize it, as we have now got some cars on circuit, a big bunch of cars. Latifi, Mazepin, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Sainz, and Russell are the cars on track. And the first car, actually, I think the first 2 cars on the track are the 2 Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz, as Max Verstappen now joins the track. And Leclerc looks as though he will be providing a tow to Carlos Sainz. I'm sure there, you know, will be some agreement as to who provides who with what in helping each other's laps. As now Lando Norris is on the track for McLaren. As Charles Leclerc, well, he's not going to provide a tow for anyone because he's now going off on his own round the Parabolica. And now Charles Leclerc begins his first timed run of qualifying. DRS wide open. Sainz will get the very smallest bit of tow from behind, but it won't really benefit his lap, as Leclerc comes through the first chicane. No problems there. As, Sainz has started his lap now, so has Tsunoda, Schumacher, Mazepin, and Latifi, as Norris, Verstappen, and Russell. Well, not anymore. Russell is on a time lap now, but Norris and Verstappen are on an out lap, as Leclerc, of course, does a purple first sector. It's immediately beaten by Carlos Sainz. And now Leclerc through Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2. Really the only part of the circuit where Ferrari are properly quick is those 2 corners. Everywhere else, they're pretty slow compared to the front runners. As Leclerc comes down to the entry to the Ascari Chicane. And Carlos Sainz quite a bit quicker on this lap. 3/10 up on Leclerc after the first 2 sectors. So Leclerc not really hitting the mark with this first run, I have to say. As may as well update that Charles Leclerc is going to go quickest, and he does a 1:22.8. Carlos Sainz comes to the line and goes 0.3 of a second quicker. And Sainz is up to, of course, at the moment, first position. Is a replay of Yuki Tsunoda at the second chicane. and drives slightly into the gravel. Wouldn't have cost him too much time doing that because he didn't go quite far enough into it to lose a lot of time. Probably lost half a tenth or a tenth maybe at most, just with, momentum. Tsunoda, though, despite that, has gone quicker than Leclerc. Has gone up to second position as Yuki Tsunoda. So Tsunoda is second. We'll just wait to see what Max Verstappen does, though. He hasn't done a purple sector so far, Verstappen, but he comes to the line and goes P1 by 0.4 of a second on a 122.1, which is, well, nowhere near as quick as they could possibly go, as they were doing times about 0.8 of a second quicker in practice one, where Red Bull, Verstappen is quickest from Sainz, Tsunoda, and then it is Russell in as Lando Norris comes to the line. He's done a purple first and second sector and a purple third sector and goes quickest by 0.4 of a second. Told ya, McLaren, they do have some really good pace. And if he keeps that up, because that's a very good lap, by the way, then you never know with McLaren what they could accomplish. As Lewis Hamilton about to start his first timed run of qualifying. Just going to update the order. So Norris, Verstappen, Sainz, Tsunoda, and then Russell is in 5th place for Williams. And then Nicholas Latifi is in 6th. Let me just update that. So Latifi up to 6th. And then Charles Leclerc 7th. And then the 8th time we have is that of Nikita Mazepin, who is the slowest of them all so far. But we have plenty of others out on track who have not set a time. So we'll wait to see what they can do. And yeah, we'll see what they can do in just a moment. Just trying to put Kubica's text in a better position. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, has done 2 purple sectors. And there you go with Kubica's name in 19th at the moment. As Valtteri Bottas goes quickest in the Mercedes, but he's about to be beaten by his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who goes 0.25 of a second quicker. And Hamilton looking straight away very, very good. Lewis Hamilton up to P1, and then in second position is his teammate Valtteri Bottas. In third place is Daniel Ricciardo. It's a great lap for him. Like I said earlier, Ricciardo very strong around this circuit. He's not had a podium here before, but he's always been strong, as Max Verstappen losing a bit of time on the exit of the second chicane, but that wouldn't have been the reason why he is miles away from Lewis Hamilton on lap time at the moment. And then interestingly, you've got, it's actually Pierre Gasly in 4th place, as now we have lots of traffic coming through the start of the second sector. So Ricciardo is in 3rd at the moment, and then you've got Gasly in 4th, and that's what I was going to say. Interestingly, Giovinazzi, his home race, is in 5th place. Great first lap for Antonio. And then it's Norris in 6th. Perez is 7th in the Red Bull, as Leclerc's about to be released from the pits again on another set of tyres. So Perez is 7th. And then you have Stroll in 8th place. Max Verstappen all the way down in 9th and 1.5 seconds off the pace. By the way, Lewis Hamilton's first time there already 0.4 quicker than he did in practice. So immediately improving when Red Bull really are nowhere. You have Verstappen 9th, and then Sebastian Vettel is in 10th place with Latifi in 11th. Russell in 12th, here's a replay of the 2 Ferraris, or Leclerc having to get out the way there of Mazepin, and then he's not allowed to overtake, and he almost did. but he didn't, so he won't get punished for that. As Verstappen, here's a replay of him on the run to the second chicane, and I'm going to guess got blocked. Yeah. And that might incur a penalty from the Alpines there, and maybe the car ahead of him as well, which was a Aston Martin or a Mercedes. I can't quite see, but Max Verstappen was quite horribly blocked on that lap. A lot of cars on the inside of Lesmo 1 getting out of the way of Esteban Ocon, and even more cars getting out of the way now between Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. But yeah, Latifi 11th, Russell 12th, and then Sainz, Tsunoda, Leclerc, and then currently in the drop zone is Kubica, Mazepin, and then the two Alpines and Mick Schumacher at the moment. But the two Alpines are about to set their first lap times of the session. As Esteban Ocon flies through Parabolica, Pierre Gasly, by the way, is on another flying lap and looking good as Ocon comes to the line and goes P11 on that lap. So Ocon is up to 11th. Fernando Alonso goes 8th. Not surprised that he's putting a good lap. He does tend to be pretty good around this track. Of course, he has plenty of experience of this track and has won this Grand Prix twice before. So in the drop zone, as Norris goes third, is Tsunoda, Leclerc, Kubica, Mazepin, and Mick Schumacher. Lando Norris up to third. So third and fourth for McLaren, and Red Bull nowhere to be seen. As desperately everyone is trying to get a tow from someone. And that's why there are so many cars in the same part of the circuit so often. We're just seeing a replay now, and oh dear. Gasly, horribly, not blocked, but just horribly distracted. And yeah, it was pretty much blocked from the apex of the beginning of the Ascari Chicane by Ferrari there. And I've got to say, the traffic situation is really, really bad at the moment. As Lando Norris, by the way, has had his time deleted. And Norris is back down to 6th, but I think this could end in tears at the end of this session, end of Q2 and end of Q3 as well, because there seems to be a lot of just dodgy stuff going on. As Yuki Tsunoda jumps up to 10th place. That is a good lap there from Tsunoda. So both Ferraris at the moment heading out of the session, but not anymore, as Carlos Sainz goes all the way up to 3rd place in the Ferrari. Brilliant lap by the Spaniard, who probably feels as though he really should have won last year's Grand Prix. As Max Verstappen now goes 3rd in the Red Bull. I'll check how far off he is in terms of lap time in just a moment. And we're not going to see that at the moment. Or no, we are looking at Max Verstappen, but we're looking at Verstappen, I think, after he has completed his time. So in the drop zone at the moment, to my best belief, it is Mick Schumacher in 18th, and then Kubica 19th, Mazepin 20th is the bottom 3 there. But for some reason, they're not showing it on the screen. I don't quite know why you would hide the most valuable information of the session at such an important point. As Russell here going for another lap. And we'll see now what he can do. Again, it would be fantastic, absolutely fantastic, if FOM could actually show us what the running order is, so I can update you guys as to what the running order is. There you go, thank God. Charles Leclerc is out the drop zone now, and Leclerc is all the way up in 5th place. Not many cars on track right now, thankfully, so I can do this order without being interrupted. So there you go. Leclerc up to 5th. So, and as well, Mazepin is 19th. So Kubica surprisingly, all the way down in 20th position. Let me just do that. There you go. That's better. So with about 3 minutes to go in... Let me just do that again. With about 3 minutes to go in Q1, in the drop zone, desperately needing to get out is the two Williamses of Latifi and Russell, the two Haases of Schumacher and Mazepin, and Robert Kubica. And we'll see on this lap whether Russell can get himself out of 17th place. Latifi has got himself out, and so has Russell. So, Russell is up to P11 in the Williams, and Latifi is now up to 13th. I feel as though with Latifi, though, that lap time might not be good enough for him to get into Q2. So currently now in the drop zone, with 2 minutes left pretty much, is Sebastian Vettel, Esteban Ocon, Schumacher, Mazepin, and Kubica. As we're now seeing a replay of Russell, bit of opposite lock through the last part of Ascari. So Russell probably could have gone a tenth and a half quicker. I think Russell, though, might be in a good position as that piece of blocking we've just seen on the screen by Mazepin to Kubica is just so stupid. So stupid. Just a real lack of brain cells, really, hovering on the apex when a driver's trying to go through it. But now we have, with 90 seconds left, a massive collection of cars, all following closely now on the run down to the Ascari Chicane. And this just looks like a disaster waiting to happen. Because you can guarantee, and we're already seeing it now, between turn 10 and 11, so that's straight on the run down to the Parabolica, there is a chasm of cars, and this is going to wreck a lot of people's laps. And you can just, oh, Jesus Christ, that is a horrendous sight to see. So many cars so close together like that. Hopefully, nobody gets their lap harmed, especially that of Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon. And Vettel has got away for the start of his last flying lap in Q1, and thankfully has a bit of a toe ahead, but it's not enough to hold him up through the corners. So Sebastian Vettel should be fine. As Vettel now exits the first chicane. He looked pretty fine, I have to say, through that first chicane. And we'll see what his first sector time is like compared to Yuki Tsunoda. And it is a James Bond of a second slower than Tsunoda through the first sector. So he is pretty much bang on with Tsunoda through there. And Vettel now through turn 7, which of course is the second Lesmo. Now on the second DRS straight towards the beginning of the Ascari Chicane. And turn 9, or turn 8, sorry. He's now 0.3 of a second quicker than Tsunoda, so this should be, and now with a bit more of a toe ahead, this should be absolutely good enough now that the session and the checkered flag has come out. So the session is over, but these laps can be completed. And Vettel now rounds the final corner as Perez improves to 7th place. Sebastian Vettel goes up into 8th. The Sebastian Vettel is through, and so is... No, not at the moment. I thought Ocon was also up there. And now he is. Ocon up to 11th. So Latifi is out as Kubica has just gone up to 18th place. So, and Tsunoda is now up to 14th. So now we have... As Norris goes third, it's the entire order is just going absolutely mental right now. And there you go. So out in qualifying 1, now that the mayhem has calmed down, Let me just update it. There was no way I could update the running orders as quickly as it was, changing around. So, Latifi is 17th. You've got Kubica 19th, Schumacher 18th, Mazepin 20th. And Russell has not made it through. So both Williams is out in Q1. And that is, I have to say, a pretty poor result, considering how good they've been in the past 2 races. And let me just update the rest of the order as... Oh, Tsunoda has had his time deleted, so Russell has made it through. Russell is back through, so Tsunoda will start in 17th. The Russell ended up 15th and only made it through by 0.03 of a second, I believe. Yes, Tsunoda had his time deleted, so let me just do the rest of the order. And, well, I've not been able to do the rest of the order, but the rest of the order, to be honest, doesn't really matter because they've made it through to Q2 anyway. But guys, at the end of Q1, knocked out in a very mental end to the session here in Q1, Nicholas Latifi, very disappointingly, Yuki Tsunoda out in 17th place, considering how good AlphaTauri have been so far this weekend. That is very disappointing. And also had his time deleted, which is what put him back into the drop zone, saving Russell's bacon there. And then 18th, Mick Schumacher, 19th, Robert Kubica, and 20th, Nikita Mazepin. So those are the drivers knocked out at the end of Q1. And now we'll prepare ourselves for Q2. Hopefully, I will be able to update it in real time. This time, there was no way I could do it then because it was just moving around all over the place. Between 11th and 15th, though, if you're wondering, that is how it finished. So it was the 2 Alpines barely making it through in the end. I've got to say, good job by Mick Schumacher to not end up out-qualified by every other car out there. I'm a bit disappointed in Kubica because I thought he was looking pretty good earlier, but has not quite had the pace when it mattered. But now we'll get that second dotted line ready, and I'll get rid of that so it doesn't make you guys think that Q2 is already finished. So, of course, everyone between those 2 separate dotted lines, which is at the moment Stroll, Gasly, Alonso, Ocon, Russell. If that was to be the 11th to 15th at the end of Q2, then, of course, they would be knocked out and would start the race, on the sprint qualifying race in those positions. But we'll see if that does happen. Got to say, Antonio Giovinazzi didn't finish in 9th in that Q1. He finished up in 5th or 6th. So Antonio was very, very good then. I think he could cause, like he did at Zandvoort, another really big surprise. So we'll see what he can do in front of his home crowd at the Italian Grand Prix as Sky come back to show some analysis of Max Verstappen. Red Bull, I've got to say, so far, and we'll see it in Q2, I think a lot more, but Red Bull just don't quite seem to be there from what I've seen so far. Maybe, like I said, maybe they have more pace, but you got to say Mercedes so far this weekend have been first class. Red Bull just haven't quite hit the mark so far. So, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I think Red Bull, for their own confidence, really, have got to bang in a really good lap time in this session. It needs to be really a low 1 minute 20. At least for them to, think, well, there's a lot more we have in this car. And they're just showing some of the heinous blocks in Q1. One of them being Charles Leclerc, I think, blocking the apex of turn 8 off from Pierre Gasly. Because, of course, for turn 8, you do want to pretty much run over the curb there. And what we're seeing here, Norris passing a couple slow cars. And then, yeah, having his time deleted because he went a bit wide on the exit parabolica, but I think went wide because he collected a bit of turbulent air from the car ahead of him. It's not really a surprise that that happened. Or was that Ricciardo? Don't know. But, like I said, not really a surprise as Q2 has already started. I'll get the timer synced up in about 45 seconds' time. As they're just showing how Tsunoda's lap time got deleted. And, of course, it was for a track limit violation at turn 11. Being, of course, the exit of Parabolica. But, yeah, the Q2 session is now underway. And given how close things were on lap time in Q1, and generally at Monza we know it's so close, especially to make it into the top 10, I think we really could see some big names in this session fall foul of cut-off zone. As the two Red Bulls come out on track, and they come out on the soft compound tyre, of course. Tyre wear around Monza is not a massive issue. I mean, the rear tyres can take a pounding. In hot conditions, if you do run on them quite a bit, but other than that, they seem to be pretty fine, to be honest. But yeah, timer up and running, and we'll now see from these first initial times what happens as Russell and the Williams gets out on track. And the two Red Bulls are way up front. Going to do some towing, of course, for each other, I think, is what they might do there. Unless now they're going to slow up and let the rest of the pack catch up, as pretty much the entire field remaining are out on circuit, except for Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. As race control decide that Leclerc and Mazepin pit lane incident, no investigation necessary, which I have to agree with. Nothing really happened. And Leclerc, of course, wasn't affected in the session in any meaningful way by what happened with Mazepin there, as only car not on track now is Alonso in the Alpine. As Russell says, brake pedal is long. As Alonso, by the way, has now joined the track. So we'll see if Russell has to come back in for that problem. As now, Sergio Perez, at the start here at Q2, begins his first run. Let's see how quick Perez can be in. With Verstappen behind, I think most importantly, let's see how quick Red Bull can go. Because if they don't show any more speed in this session, I doubt they're going to show it in Q3. As Perez and Verstappen now through the first chicane. Perez is the man ahead of Verstappen. As Perez now for the first sector does a 27.1. Max Verstappen does a 27.0. Perez gets as close to the gravel on the exit of the second chicane as possible. So does Max Verstappen. We'll see what the middle sector provides us. Middle sector is probably the most important sector in terms of the differences between the drivers. As Perez does a 54.3. Verstappen about 0.3 of a second up. So Max looking very good on pace compared to his teammate. But we don't know compared to the team Mercedes. And actually, Valtteri Bottas miles quicker in the middle sector. 0.6 of a second quicker in the middle sector alone compared to Max Verstappen. So Mercedes are much quicker as Perez goes quickest. And then Max Verstappen now goes quickest on a 120.7, which is better but it's not quite good enough compared to what Mercedes are about to do. As Valtteri Bottas goes P1 on a 120.0. 0.7 of a second quicker than Red Bull, as Lewis Hamilton now goes P1 on a 119.1. Mercedes, not just 1 and 2, they have absolutely no competition whatsoever on pure lap time at the moment. As Giovinazzi has gone up to 4th place, I believe. They're not showing the left-hand side graphic at the moment, so I can't give you the exact order, but that top 2 you're seeing is the correct one. And it would be great, again, if FOM could be a bit more logical in their use of graphics instead of hiding them for no reason. And there you go. So, let's go through what the order is, as we've had pretty much everyone set a time except for Fernando Alonso. So Hamilton is currently P1, Bottas P2, and then Norris is 3rd, with Ricciardo 4th. So right now you've got to say, especially with the pace difference of about 0.3 of a second from McLaren back to Red Bull, McLaren look as though they're the second quickest team at the moment. And then you've got, after the 2 McLarens, in 5th place, you have Pierre Gasly. In 5th, Max Verstappen is 6th. Giovinazzi's 7th, and half a second ahead of the drop zone and the people in it. Brilliant there from Giovinazzi. And looks as though Charles Leclerc's on another lap here. And then you've got Lance Stroll in 8th place. Charles Leclerc, like I said, is on another lap, but he is in 9th. Perez 10th. And then in the drop zone is Ocon 11th. Vettel 12th. Sainz 13th. And then Russell 14th. Alonso 15th. Leclerc comes back in. Alonso, I think, Alonso is in the pits. So Alonso has not come out on track yet. So with the first runs done, as one of the McLarens is now in the FIA weighbridge, or on it rather, with 8 minutes to go, the running order, the top 15 here in Q2 is Hamilton, Bottas, Norris, Ricciardo, Gasly, Verstappen, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Leclerc, Perez. And in the drop zone at the moment, with 7.5 minutes left, is Ocon, Vettel, Sainz, Russell, and Alonso. Alonso, though, has not yet set a lap time. And I think, given that Ocon is 11th, I think Alonso could probably get his way into the top 10. Given that Alonso has been quicker than Ocon so far this weekend. And you would expect that around here, where, like I said, Fernando has won this Grand Prix twice. As here's a replay of Alonso getting a slipstream for Verstappen, and then locking inside front because of the distraction of the Red Bull ahead. I don't think Sergio Perez did anything wrong there. It was just wrong place, wrong time, really, for Fernando there. So, a shame that Fernando could not get a time in. But, like I said, I'm sure he can go quicker than Ocon, and if he can, very good chance of getting himself in the top 10. As I think, to be honest, given that everyone on their outlaps are going so slow, and given that everyone wants a tow and all of that, I don't think we're going to see cars for, at least a couple more minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And I think when we do get that outlap, guys, I think it will be a pretty slow outlap. The biggest area of interest for me is not that Mercedes are 1-2, it's where are Red Bull? I mean, the answer is 6th and 10th at the moment, but where's their pace gone? They're not just slower, they're nowhere near Mercedes. Mercedes are, late 1 minute 19, early 1 minute 20. Red Bull are late 1 minute 20. That's a lot of time to be giving up to your rivals. And Red Bull, if that's all they've got, they're in trouble. And one thing I will say is, of course, and it's good to remind you guys of this, on a Friday, the teams do not have to use just one engine mode like they do from Saturday morning on. So we do have to raise the possibility that Red Bull are saving on power, but why would you do that in such an important session? Because if Max Verstappen starts in 6th, he's not going to end up winning the sprint qualifying race and starting on pole, is he? So it would, be horrible for him if that was the case. So I don't see why Red Bull would be not running, because I saw someone in the chat saying Perez only did 326 kilometers an hour on the straight, when I think Latifi in the Williams earlier was doing like 341. I just think it surely can't be that they're doing that, because I don't see how it would benefit them. I just don't see how it would. It's not like they have a comfortable gap to the rest of the field, except for Mercedes, to be able to do that. Like I said, coming into this session, the upper midfield teams are going to be very strong. We've seen that with McLaren. McLaren are looking very good, so they, couldn't really do that. But it's going to be very interesting to hear after this session if this does continue from Red Bull as to why they're so slow, because you would have thought by now we would have seen a lap time that really would have made us be like, oh, right, they have got the pace to at least be fighting with Mercedes. But right now, they are, compared to where they want to be and where they have been this season, they are absolutely nowhere. As now the tyre covers come off Valtteri Bottas's car, and Bottas is back out on track, and so will be Lewis Hamilton. There you go, right behind him. So 3.5 minutes to go in the drop zone, desperately needing to escape is Esteban Ocon, Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz, George Russell, and Fernando Alonso. Alonso, though, again, has not set a lap time, as everyone now piling onto the track. And this is where it's going to get messy. 3 minutes to go, meaning 3 minutes, or now, even less, 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go to start your lap. So you don't want to go too slow, but you don't want to go too fast, because you do want to get a tow from someone to benefit you. As Max Verstappen passes a few cars then, looks as though Verstappen wants to get a bit further down the road than be held up at the back, because if anyone below him really improves, which could happen, then I thought that was sand on the track then. It's actually just the way the shade is because of the sun peeking through at the entry to the second chicane. If the field can improve and find a lot of that's going to require an investigation. And then safe release there of Vettel, I think that is, into the path of a Mercedes, almost hitting a couple mechanics in the pit lane. So that's not great to see, and I think that'll definitely see an investigation there, as everyone now is on the track on an outlap. The two McLarens are at the very back of the pack. I mean, McLaren need to go for another lap, I don't think, because I think they will get both cars through. But, good testing period, of course, for Q3, as now we've got the first row of people starting their final laps in Q2, such as Bottas, Verstappen, Giovinazzi, Alonso, who else? Gasly, Ocon now starting their lap, Vettel as well, and now Sainz and Stroll in 8th place, and then it'll be Lewis Hamilton, as Giovinazzi has not improved his first sector. But like I've said before, the first sector not that important, as long as you don't make a mistake, of course. As he now comes through turn 6 and 7, the two Lesmos, he's using all of the track on the exit of the first Lesmo bend, and on the second one too. And Giovinazzi now flies down to the second sector point, and he's not improving on this time. He's just not improving. Perez, though, thankfully for himself, is going quicker than he went before. This lap from Perez will probably see him go up into 5th or 6th place. And we'll see as Ocon, currently, after 2 sectors, a 10th up in terms of getting into the next part of qualifying. Bottas finishes in 2nd. Giovinazzi improves his final sector, but does not improve his lap time. Perez only goes P8. Verstappen goes up to 3rd. And Alonso up to P10 there. Alonso up to 10th. Ocon only goes 11th, so he's out. Sebastian Vettel, though, is up to P9 at the moment. Carlos Sainz now is up into 8th place. And who else have we got? Charles Leclerc in 14th and Russell in 15th. Here comes Russell to the line. And Russell stays in 15th. Charles Leclerc has got himself out in 14th place. So Charles Leclerc is up to 9th. Both Ferraris get into as Lando Norris goes 3rd. And only a 10th behind the 2 Mercedes, even though the 2 Mercedes did not improve their lap times at the end there. But Charles Leclerc into Q3. Most importantly for the home fans, both Ferraris are into the top 10, and also the home driver, Antonio Giovinazzi. What a story for the home crowd. Brilliant for them, but knocked out at the end of Q2. 2 Aston Martins of Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll. That is a very disappointing result. And then 13th and 14th, the 2 Alpines of Alonso and Ocon. They will be disappointed with that. And then in 15th is Russell, who cannot provide us with any spectacular antics on a Saturday. But that is who is knocked out in Q2. Vettel, Stroll, Alonso, Ocon, and Russell. And now we await Q3. And it is going to be a very interesting Q3. And it would be great if my voice was able to last the session. It just about will, I think. And I'll just quickly, in a moment, have a drink to make sure it does. But Q3 will be getting underway in 2 or 3 minutes' time. By the way, that pit lane incident will be investigated after the session. So no need to worry about that for the moment. Yeah, Q3, 12 minutes long. And of course, it is a shootout between the top 10. Sergio Perez, by the way, very, very lucky to get in the top 10. Very lucky, because that lap time he did at the end was not a good one. He only went from 10th up to 8th, and to be honest, I thought he was in trouble. But enough speed from the Red Bull to get into the top 10. But guys, yet again, don't forget, like I've said before, to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because we will be doing qualifying and, of course, race watch-alongs for every race remaining in 2021. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it there, or just go to my homepage and do it. And whilst you're there, hit the notifications bell so you're notified as to when I go live and upload videos. And as well, smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. Yeah, Q3 underway in a moment's time, or in a minute's time, really. And I think you'd have to say, given what we've seen so far, surely Mercedes are going to get this, front row. Never mind just pole position. No one else really looks competitive with them in a surprising turn of events. I'll be very interested to see after this session the speed traps. Because if Red Bull are massively down, then it could point to them turning their power units down further. Because if you look at the Red Bull rear wing, and they're just showing a replay of Tsunoda from earlier, going over the white line, and now I think they're doing an interview with him on Sky F1. But if you look at the Red Bull rear wing, it's not, a lot bigger than the others, meaning they'd be slower on the straights. It's just as thin as anyone else, really. So I'm just struggling to see where they're losing the time I mean, of course, I don't know right now. I mean, are Mercedes really that good in the middle sector? Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they're getting that and also a monster toe. I don't know. But Red Bull at the moment look as though they are nowhere near Mercedes at the moment. But yeah, I'm going to have a quick drink, guys, just to make sure I'm in better condition throat-wise. And then I'll be back in just a second. Take you through, of course, Q3. And there you go. Hopefully it should be a bit better now. And as the night rolls in, it is, of course, 6:45 local time at Monza. So if there's any red flag periods or anything, it could see quite a dark finish to session, which I know was a concern from some people in the media online. But I'm pretty sure there'll still be another hour at least of daylight, of good daylight left. And I don't think there'll be a red flag that bad. As they're just showing a replay of the unsafe releases. And I wouldn't be surprised if Aston Martin got a big fine for that. I think really they're the only culprit for that. I don't think Mercedes or Red Bull necessarily did anything wrong. And we'll see when this session gets underway, as the TV broadcast is currently showing number 10, Pierre Gasly, of course, the race winner of this Grand Prix a year ago, and consistently this weekend has been in the top 5, top 6, so he could be in, if we get a crazy race on Sunday, could be in for another podium visit on Sunday, especially if Red Bull are lacking in speed like they have been so far. And really for Red Bull, I think their aim has got to be, I just don't see Mercedes dropping off pace-wise, so I think really Red Bull's aim has got to be, with Verstappen, 3rd place. Make sure he's in that part of the grid and not in a part of the grid where he's going to get held up by people slower. Got to make sure he's in that position. Because if he ends up 5th or 6th, I think he's in big trouble. Because, yeah, we have a sprint race and he could make overtakes, but he even said coming into the weekend that he thinks there'll be DRS trains this weekend and no one is really going to be able to make a move. And if you look at last year's Italian Grand Prix, before that safety car came out, there was barely any racing at all. There was just a massive DRS train from like 3rd back to 9th or 10th or something, and no one was able to make a move. And I think honestly that's what you're going to see in the sprint race tomorrow. You're going to see maybe a bit of an interesting start and then just a DRS train throughout the midfield, as Q3 has now started, and we'll see whether Mercedes can maintain their speed or whether Red Bull can finally show some pace. But what we've seen so far, don't think they can. So I think McLaren could be in for a very good result here if Red Bull cannot get their act together. I'll sync up the timer in, 30 seconds time, as the 2 Red Bulls, by the way, on track. So are the 2 Mercedes and also Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. And now I think the 2 Ferraris out on track as well. And yep, that is the case. And now the 2 McLarens as well. And then lastly will be Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. Got to say, great drive from Giovinazzi to get into the top 10. And there you go. So 11 minutes to go in qualifying. Let's see in this first run whether Mercedes have that front row absolutely in their pocket, or whether Red Bull were just playing us the whole time. We are about to find out. As the 2 Mercedes are just coming to the entry of the Ascari Chicane on this outlap two Red Bulls now heading down that way now. Perez ahead of Verstappen again. And then you've got Gasly in a Mercedes Red Bull sandwich. And Giovinazzi, by the looks of it, staying in the pits. Maybe he'll do a lap whilst they're all in the pits and then come out at the end to benefit from a tow. I don't know if he will do that, but maybe that's what they're thinking. As Valtteri Bottas is the first man to start a lap here in Q3. So let's see if Mercedes do have that stunning speed still. As Lewis Hamilton quite a bit far behind on the track, but he will be picking up the slightest tow down the pit straight. As Bottas now going through Curva Grande and up to the second chicane. In the purple first sector, of course, he's the first man to get to that sector. Has Lewis Hamilton go even quicker? Bottas, and yeah, Hamilton has gone definitely quicker. Purple first sector for him. Bottas kicking up a lot of gravel on the exit of the second chicane. Hamilton does not do that, but Valtteri Bottas definitely giving up time there. And Valtteri's done this a lot in 2021. When in 2020 he's not as bad as this. Bottas has really cracked under pressure quite a lot this season when it comes to Q3 when he's been showing good speed. As Hamilton does a purple middle sector, so Lewis Hamilton looking very good here. We'll see what Max Verstappen's middle sector is, and Max Verstappen has done a purple middle sector. So Red Bull might just have the speed here as Valtteri Bottas goes, of course, into P1. Lewis Hamilton, though, will go P1 on a 119.9. Gasly goes up to third. Max Verstappen about to come to the line. And Verstappen goes second. He is almost 0.02 of a second slower than Lewis Hamilton. So at the moment, it is advantage Lewis Hamilton, but Verstappen absolutely on that lap got the best out of his car and was very, very close there for pole position. And also very close, Lando Norris in third place. Only half a tenth, or just over half a tenth off pole position. Brilliant lap there for Norris. And of course, I'll now update the order. So Hamilton is currently on pole position. Max Verstappen is second. Norris third. Ricciardo fourth. So McLaren are still in a great position here. Bottas had a poor lap, as we saw. I think Valtteri's probably got at least a quarter of a second to find that I think he could definitely find there. Saying that, Norris's time was pretty good, so I think Bottas might struggle to get on the front row there, especially with Verstappen there. So, your top five: Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris, Ricciardo, Bottas, and then you've got Gasly in sixth, Charles Leclerc seventh, Carlos Sainz eighth, and Sergio Perez down in ninth. Very disappointing for Sergio Perez. And he is 0.9 of a second slower than his teammate is Perez, so he's got to improve there. And really, given the pace of the Red Bull from what we've seen so far in Q3, Perez should be getting up in 5th or 6th here. As the final couple cars are just coming back to the pits. Those final cars are the 2 McLarens and 2 Ferrari cars. Giovinazzi is not on track still. And we await to see what he can do, given how good he was in Q2. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton on pole at the moment by 0.017 of a second. Both Hamilton and Verstappen into the 1 minute 19s. About second off the pace they were doing last year at the Italian Grand Prix at the very front. But Max is very close now. Now we'll see when they come back out. I'm going to guess probably in about 2.5 minutes' time is when the drivers will head back out. And I don't think, to be honest, Giovinazzi is going to come out on track until the very end. It might be a case with Giovinazzi because Alfa Romeo were not expecting to get into the top 10. might be a case that he's only got one set of tyres left and they don't want to blow it early in the session. That's probably why they're doing what they're doing. So, yeah, I think Giovinazzi can, and hopefully will, be able to get out on track. Got to say, the two Ferraris are doing pretty well at the moment, 7th and 8th. If they were to start the sprint qualifying race from there and finish around there, that would be a pretty good starting position for the race, considering their lack of power. But the fight to watch out for, without doubt, coming into this final run is going to be not just Hamilton versus Verstappen, but versus Norris as well. Lando Norris, just to update you guys, is only 0.065 of a second away from pole position. Ricciardo is about a quarter of a second slower than Norris in 4th place. Ricciardo, though, doing great. You have to say, Ricciardo this weekend has looked like the Ricciardo we thought we were getting in 2021. And McLaren thought they were getting in 2021. But, yeah, 3-way fight between the best 3 drivers in Formula 1 this season for pole position for the sprint qualifying race. And in I think probably about a minute's time at the latest, you'll start to see cars piling out onto the circuit in this early evening setting at the Italian Grand Prix. And we're just waiting and waiting and waiting to see. And once one car comes out of their pit box, they'll all come out at the same time. And here we go. So Max Verstappen, I think, is about to come out. And there you go. The 2 Red Bulls, and it's Perez ahead of Verstappen again. So Perez is sentenced, giving Max a tow. Still, Perez, I think, could go quicker. Because even though he hasn't got a tow, I still think Perez shouldn't be that far off. And should be at least very close with the Ferraris on lap time. As the 2 Mercedes on track, pretty much F1 on track. And by the way, Antonio Giovinazzi comes out on track. So with just under 3 minutes to go. Hamilton in pole, Verstappen 2nd, Norris 3rd. Let's see who wins this epic battle between the top 3 for pole position. As Hamilton now joins the track. The last car on the circuit is a McLaren. Don't know what McLaren it is. Would love to know what McLaren it is, but the last car in the pack is a McLaren. To be honest, I'm hoping it's Norris, because if he could gain a slipstream or something from the cars ahead, that would really help his effort. As it is Perez from Verstappen from Gasly in terms of the track order on this outlap. So the same top 3 as it was through the first run. The 2 sister teams running coordinated programs by the look of it. And now Sergio Perez will start his lap in just a moment. As now, Sergio Perez rounds the Parabolica, and now Max Verstappen goes into the Parabolica. And here we go. The final run in Q3. Let's see if Red Bull can get pole position from Mercedes when it was looking so ominous from Mercedes. As Max Verstappen now heads down to turn 1. As Gasly also starts his lap. So does Carlos Sainz. And the home driver, Giovinazzi. Verstappen comes through the first chicane. All good. Now stays to the inside through the kink. All the way up to the second chicane. And Verstappen has not improved his first sector. But like I've said, the first sector, not the most important. As he now comes into Lesmo 1. And runs a slight bit wide, but not to the point where he would have lost time, and neither to the point in Les Mode 2. Using all of the track is Max Verstappen. Now on the run down to the Ascari Chicane, and Max is still not improving on these sectors as Pierre Gasly does a purple middle sector. Stunning pace from the AlphaTauri driver in the background. He's just behind Max Verstappen is Gasly. And now they all come to the line. So Sergio Perez will be the first to come to the line. And Perez only goes up to 8th. Max Verstappen stays 2nd. Pierre Gasly comes to the line, only goes P5. Probably feels he could have done better there. As Valtteri Bottas has done 2 purple sectors. Carlos Sainz up to 7th. Giovinazzi stays 10th. That's still okay for him. So now we wait to see, as Leclerc is 8th, we wait to see what, as Ricciardo goes 3rd, what Hamilton, Bottas and Norris can do. Bottas to the line, and he goes on to pole position with a 1:19.5. Valtteri Bottas on pole. Hamilton is 2nd, and Lando Norris comes to the line and is only in P4. So Lando Norris not quite delivering at the end there, but still very good effort from McLaren, 4th and 5th. But Valtteri Bottas gets his first pole position since Portimao back in May, I believe, or April, when that Grand Prix was. It is a Mercedes front row, and ultimately, when it mattered most, Red Bull were nowhere near the 2 Silver Arrows who have dominated this session. And the Flying Finn, Valtteri Bottas, is on pole position from Lewis Hamilton 2nd, then Max Verstappen 3rd, Norris 4th, Ricciardo 5th, Gasly 6th, Sainz in 7th, Leclerc 8th, Perez 9th, and Giovinazzi in 10th. Knockdown Q2, Vettel, Stroll, Alonso, Ocon, and Russell. And knockdown Q1, Latifi, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Kubica, and Mazepin. That is your starting grid for the sprint qualifying race. We'll see what the sprint qualifying race does to the grid. But that is what is, for me, the real qualifying session here at Monza. And hopefully, it's not too much different from the grid for Sunday. So there you go, guys. That is your qualifying session. And yeah, pretty good session. Definitely better than the last one at Zandvoort. And Valtteri Bottas on pole, that is something that none of us saw coming, especially after his poor first run where he just was nowhere really near the standard required to even be, you know, where Mercedes would expect him to be, which is, say, at least in 3rd place. But Red Bull have a massive fight on their hands. I mean, it's not end of the world because it's Bottas on pole. If it was Hamilton on pole, I think they would be in a bit of a tricky position with Verstappen, with Red Bull. But because Hamilton is 2nd and on it's not really the dirty side of the grid because the cars go down the middle of the pit straight. So it's, like I said, it's not really the dirty side of the grid. But still, Verstappen has the, you know, outside line, straighter run, down to turn 1. Max Verstappen could still end up starting the race ahead of Lewis Hamilton, which of course would be a massive benefit to him. But in this session, clearly, Mercedes miles quicker than Red Bull. Both Mercedes ending up 0.4 of a second ahead of Max Verstappen and the 2 McLarens as well. By the way, big credit to Daniel Ricciardo. Great result for him. And everyone else, yeah, either did well or not quite good enough, but everyone else, I'd say there wasn't anything in particular outstanding, except for Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi in the top 10, that is an absolutely brilliant achievement, and hopefully he has a bit more luck than he did at Zandvoort tomorrow and on Sunday. But guys, that is it for the qualifying watch-along. Thank you guys for coming along. Just to let you guys know, so I've recorded that now, the qualifying watch-along, and what I'll do is tonight edit it up. I always have trouble with saying things quite quickly. Should try and slow down sometimes. Yeah, I'm going to try and edit that up tonight, and then you'll probably see it late tonight. I'll schedule it as an upload or as a premiere to come out at, say, 12 p.m. UK time tomorrow, which would be at the conclusion of practice 2. And then, you guys can watch along the best bits from, the real session itself. So yeah, I'll let you guys, have fun with that tomorrow. Then again, on Sunday for the next live streams, make sure to come back here at 11 a.m. UK time for the race preview. And then 1:30 p.m. UK time for the race watch along. And then, of course, the race review recorded will go up as soon as possible after I finish the race watch along. And then, of course, there'll be a race watch along best bits video either on Monday or Tuesday, depending if there's anything else to analyse from the Italian Grand Prix weekend. But guys, that's been it. Thank you guys for coming along. Again, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen, or go to my channel page and do it there. Also hit the notifications bell, smash a like button, and share this video on your channel every way you can. And don't forget as well to join our Discord server of, 500 people? Very active and great for notifications as well, as long as you're, of course, active on the server. But guys, until that best bits video, and until my next stream on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. UK time, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.